September the 25th, 2025. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and we're still here. At least I am. I don't know. I guess we'll find out if our audience base got raptured by looking at the numbers of those who show up today. But as far as I can tell, I haven't seen the Son of Man arrive in the clouds. I haven't seen any large sickles reach down from the heavens to harvest the earth. So we're still here. I'm assuming the rapture hasn't happened by all accounts. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Welcome back, guys. How you doing? I hate to say I told you so, but this has been happening so often. I've been caught up. I feel bad for those who are truly upset. If somebody got you super excited, or if you thought, there were things that led you to believe that this was the festival that was going to be the final rapture, I'm sorry if your feelings got hurt because it hasn't happened yet. And if you did get raptured, great. Send us a text message from where you're at. My wife texted me yesterday and asked where I was at. I told her I was in heaven. I go, we have great cell service. Sending me a message. Yeah, funny. Yeah, so by all accounts, the next high watch time for me is really the next high watch time for anything is February. So I'm speculating based on the information that we have that seal number 5 opens in February. So it'll be interesting to see what starts to happen around that period of time. And then as far as like a rapture date, where there's like a harvest, I'm looking at when the two witnesses are killed and in the street for 3.5 days, which it's interesting after watching the whole shenanigans that went on at the United Nations. It got me thinking, I almost wonder if that's not, the place where Christ was crucified, Sodom and Egypt. If that's not like the world capital, because obviously there's a lot of figurative language in the book of Revelation. And by all accounts, it seems like when it's saying that they lie dead in the street for 3.5 days, where our Lord was crucified, to me, that indicates that either one, it's going to be literally in Jerusalem, or it's going to be in a capital. So you could have like the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., or you could have like the capital of the world, maybe the United Nations. But judging how they treated Donald Trump when he came to give his speech, I could totally see somebody rising up and taking him down and then just leaving him there for 3.5 days with all the cameras on him. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Just one of the things that I was thinking of when they stopped him on the escalator, and then when his teleprompter wasn't working. Who was the idiot that turned off the teleprompter on Donald J. Trump? Don't you know this man has spent his entire life perfecting the art of speaking from the cuff, speaking by inspiration? Anyway, speaking of our guy, let's get on to what it is that he's been up to. A lot of tariff stuff. It's funny because when I was generating the titles and descriptions for today's video, there's been a couple of false information on the titles that I've had to actually go back and correct it. For it, like all week, it's been saying that Donald Trump has been hitting tariffs. But that hasn't been like the highlight of what he's been talking about. So today I had to actually go double check what he was. Today he's definitely hitting tariffs really hard. So our title is legit that we're going to be talking about tariffs here. So let's give this a refreshy to make sure we got the latest. All right. Great numbers came out today on the economy, 3.8%, and the success we are having. But our interest rates are too high. If it weren't for Jerome, too late Powell, we would be at 2% right now and in the process of balancing our budget. The good news is that we're powering through this incompetence and will soon be doing as a country better than we have ever done before. Amen. Yeah, what's going on? So that's interesting. I just had a thought. You know how always bring up the seal number 3 wasn't what we thought it was going to be. I don't think it has to do with the famine and inflation specifically with seal number 3, because Revelation 6:6 says, in the midst of the four living creatures I heard a measure of wheat for a denarius and 3 measures of barley for a denarius. Maybe Jerome Powell is supernaturally being prevented from lowering the interest rate until seal number 5 opens. How weird would that be? Wouldn't it be interesting if, like, February 17th, Jerome Powell decides to lower the interest rate? Because then you would have the inflation taking up the full first 4 seals. Interesting. I might put that on the timeline of something to watch for. Ooh, that's a good feature to add to the pipeline. Watch events, like pay attention to this day to verify, and then we can have a way to verify if the thing happened or not. Ooh, exciting. Okay, moving on. Sorry. Woohoo, squirrel. Let's see what else today. White House. What is this? Gold Star Mothers and Family Day 2025 by President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Since the dawn of our republic, millions of brave men and women have answered the call of liberty to preserve peace, uphold our sovereignty, and defend the sacred ideals that have defined our nation for nearly 250 years. Countless souls have perished in the noble pursuit, their supreme sacrifice borne by surviving families and profound sorrows, remarkable strength, and inspiring dignity. This Gold Star Mothers and Father's Day, we remember and honor the loved ones of those patriots who paid the highest price for our birthright of freedom. So, what? Oh, this is really long. I guess we could read it. Why not? The supreme sacrifice of our fallen heroes is neither solitary nor finite. Instead, it is shared by bereaved families who bury the fallen and wage an unending battle of unfathomable heartache that is not erased by the passage of time. Gold Star families know better than anyone the tremendous cost of our freedom, paid for by the blood of their beloved husbands, wives, sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers who forfeited their hopes and dreams so that others may live with peace, safety, and liberty in the greatest country on the face of the earth. We are eternally grateful for their heroic sacrifice. Last month, I was proud to meet with Gold Star families of the 13 service members who lost their lives in the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. 4 years later, these families carry a burden of grief that is compounded by the absence of accountability and compassion from the previous administration. As Commander in Chief, I will never betray our warfighters or turn my back on their families. They deserve our enduring support and respect and an aggressive policy of peace through strength so that fewer families are shattered on the field of battle. As we observe Gold Star Mothers and Father's Day, the First Lady and I extend our steadfast love and unwavering devotion to those who bear the unbearable with grace and resilience. May you find comfort in knowing the sacrifice of your hero will never be forgotten. The Congress, by Senate Joint Resolution 115 of June 23, 1936, 49 Statute 1895 as amended, has designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim Sunday, September 28th, 2025, as Gold Star Mothers and Father's Day. I call upon all government officials to display the flag of the United States over government buildings, and I encourage the American people to display the flag and hold appropriate ceremonies and as an expression of our nation's gratitude and respect. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand to this 25th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America and 250th. Donald J. Trump. Wow. Man, what a show of respect. That is just amazing. Good for him. That's a blessing. That's really nice for for the surviving families, the mothers and the fathers of war heroes. Our veterans don't get enough recognition and love. That's amazing. All righty. Trump was right about everything. Agreed. I think Trump's a prophet. I really do. You can disagree with me and think I'm crazy for saying that, but I totally think Trump is absolutely a prophet. He definitely torments people like a prophet. He may not even know he's a prophet. I don't know if all prophets know they're prophets. Some of them do and don't say anything, and some of them don't. I mean, like, look at John. People kept asking him, "Are you Elijah? Are you Elijah?" And he's like, "No, not Elijah." He didn't know. But Donald Trump, he does both foretelling and forthtelling. He's talked about things in the future, and they came to pass. And he's pretty adamant when it comes to speaking the truth because he said many things that has come to pass. So sure, Trump was right about everything. Why not? Greatest pet president and commander in chief. God bless America. God bless President Trump. Yep. What is this? So is he just reposting memes? Absolutely. Yes. Trump 2028. I want the 4 years they stole back. So that was women for Trump. I don't know if he could do another 4 years after this. I mean, the dude's getting old. That would put him close to, I mean, like, what is he? He's in his 80s now, right? 77, 79 in that ballpark. So that would put him like 81 to like 85. I don't know. He's looking pretty good for an old dude. We owe illegals nothing. We owe our veterans everything. Agreed. Number of wars stopped in the last 8 months by Trump, 7. Number of wars stopped by the UN in the last 8 months, 0. President Zelensky is correct. The UN is useless. Agreed. Our veterans deserve free health care for life. End of story. Sure, I agree with that. I'm old enough to remember when POTUS and Secretary of State told 4 Gold Star families their loved ones died because of a YouTube video. Yikes. Don't know about that. Best upgrade in U.S. history. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Free Tina Peters, a Gold Star mother. What? Look into my eyes. Yes, we will use mail-in ballots, forcing the illegal aliens to vote and use machines. I don't get this. CCP, MS-13, and A30B will be our new election officials. Mr. Soros paid for it all. And she has a weird Nazi Hitler mustache. Free Tina Peters. I don't get it. Anybody else get this? Is this something that she's saying? I don't know enough about Tina Peters. Is she famous? Has she gone viral for making these claims or something? I don't know. These are the actions that our president takes that half of America will not hear about. The leftist media will not even mention this story. It's criminals. Stations like ABC, NBC, CBS are supposed to serve the public, not disregard something because it puts President Trump in a positive light. And they can't find anything negative to say about it. Gold Star Mother's Day. Let's see. Man, I love our president. True leadership, and most of all, a caring man. I agree. By all accounts, everything I've observed, and this, I have to be honest, this has been true my entire life. I've been around almost 50 years, and Trump has been a family name since I was a young child. I vividly remember, hearing about Donald Trump, hearing about, him being the richest man in the world multiple times. He was very generous. I have very fond memories of him. Always wanted to meet him, because I grew up really poor. So poor, we couldn't afford to go outside and chop down a tree. We had to put up Christmas lights on the wall in the shape of a tree. We couldn't afford the axe. Yeah, I grew up poor, so I always, admired Donald Trump. I remember, people getting free houses from him. I've just this memory of him giving homes to people and paying off mortgages, stuff like that. Um, yeah, the reason I voted for him was because I'm just been so sick and tired of all the politics. Your politicians have been lying when they say one thing, and what you see happening is entirely different. You know, uh, and when they say things are good but things are bad, yeah. With Donald Trump, we had under his first administration, we just saw just like this venom and hatred for him that they just constantly attacked him for. And it's interesting because, we would see it and anticipate it. And then, oh, it's like he'd say something like, oh, they're going to go after him for that. And there's just such hatred for him. He tormented him. He tormented people the very first administration. Um, yeah. And it's just like, and he still got things done. He was still he implemented he helped get the Abraham Accords through. He brought he's always been a man of peace, trying to bring resolution to conflicts. The dude even walked into North Korea. So it's just by all accounts, everything I've observed is he's an amazing leader, and I believe he's a man of God. And like I said, I believe the dude's a prophet because he knows what's going on in the future. You've even heard him. I mean, not a lot, but you've heard him talk about the future. Like, the climate change idiots saying that, oh, it's going to get hotter and, heat up. And, we're losing the ozone. And before you know it, it's going to get hot. And he's just like, no, it's going to get colder. Although, now that I think about it, he might actually be wrong about that one. Prophets aren't perfect. They can get things wrong. But if you're going around saying, thus saith the Lord, you sure as hell better get it right, because that's going to come back on you. He doesn't do that, thankfully. But yeah, because I'm thinking that like in the book of Revelation, it talks about when during God's wrath, during the bowls and the trumpet judgments, how men are burned with fire. So Trump keeps saying that it's going to get colder, or he has said in the past that it's going to get colder. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm misquoting him. Anyway, squirrel. Let's keep going. I feel like I'm like, did I get lost in I did. We've just been reading the comment section. All right, let's get back to the non-comment section. Truth Social, I tell you, so easy to get lost in here. All righty. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so it was immediately after that we get into our tariffs. Let's see. Yeah, justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nations. Make America great again. The things that they have said during his first administration, and James Comey was behind a lot of this stuff. The things they have lied about with Donald Trump saying that he was going to start wars, that he was going to nuke people and stuff like that, ain't going to happen. Never happened. They were lies. They were trying to scare people away from Donald Trump, and people believed it. Yeah, James Comey, super corrupt. We all saw it. We've seen him testify to things that we knew were not true. That dude, it's so nice to see finally, even though, the wheels of justice move slow. Some of the things that they've said about Donald Trump is that he wouldn't follow the law, that he would, people would be thrown in jail. And one of the criticisms that we have about Donald Trump is It seems like things have been moving so slow. So it's really nice to see that there's finally some indictments happening. And that's something that I respect about Donald Trump is he always seems through every single attack. It's just like, no, let the lawyers deal with it. It's like even when he had the power to go around the justice system, he was still adamantly staying within the law and working within the law, which is what our president should do. It's what our politicians should do. Stop cheating, stop lying, be trying to accomplish what you think is best. It's selfish. Stay within the laws. All right, starting October 1st, 2025, we will be imposing a 100% tariff on any branded or patented pharmaceutical product unless a company is building their pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in America. Is building will be defined as breaking ground and or under construction. There will therefore be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Interesting. What a way to force, we didn't see this we did actually, now that I think about it. We saw this during COVID. I didn't personally see it because we had done such a good job preparing. We had stockpiled all the medicines that we use on a regular basis. But we've heard like ivermectin was a good one. That was used up really quick as soon as it was found that it actually had an impact on the COVID virus. But what we learned from the pandemic is all of our medications are produced overseas in China, like all of them. Like now it's changed. Now there's companies that have produced them here, and I'm being hyperbolic, not 100%, but given the ratios of how much stuff we make in America, we learned by seeing it disappear from the market for a period of time or go skyrocket in price. Like ivermectin is such a good example because I literally used to be able to buy ivermectin for my horses for like $1, and that was in 2019. For like they would sell it for 99 cents because they had it in such massive abundance. We could, give ivermectin to our horses. And then next thing you know, those things jumped up to like $25. Then they became unavailable. And now they're back on the shelves. They're $10, 10 times more expensive. Sure, part of it is due to inflation, but also part of it because, they've learned more about ivermectin. Lots of stuff we've learned about ivermectin since the pandemic. But it just goes to show how vulnerable our healthcare system is and how dependent we are on, China for our pharmaceuticals. So this is pretty cool because he's literally forcing the companies to take action to start bringing that manufacturing back to our country. So good on him. It's amazing what you can do with tariffs. Like Trump is proving like he's using amazing strategies that we've never heard of before. Rather than starting wars and killing people, he's just like, no, let's twist your arm. You just got to find the right way to twist it. You don't have to hurt people to get things done. If somebody's been abusing you and you feel like you need to go hurt them, Trump is a genius with ways it's like, well, let's hurt him in the pocketbook. It seems to be more efficient. Moving on, let's see. We will be imposing a 50% tariff on all kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and associated products starting October 1st, 2025. Additionally, we will be charging a 30% tariff on upholstered furniture. The reason for this is the large-scale flooding of these products into the United States by other outside countries. It is a very unfair practice, but we must protect, for national security and other reasons, our manufacturing process. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah. This is a category where there is a lot of manufacturing in our country. I mean, I probably live within a half a dozen cabinet makers and furniture makers, just being where I am. But that's just true. It's a fairly big business, but even at scale, your furniture store and stuff like that. One thing that I've been noticing is a lot of, China made products for furniture have been flooding the market. So what are you more likely to do? Order the $19 shelf off of Amazon or go to your local cabinet maker to get shelves? It might hit us in the pocketbook, but it's protecting our country's interests. It's just like that's one of the things that we don't, it's nice to be able to get cheap stuff, especially in a high inflation economy. We're coming out of this high inflation. So whenever you can find something cheap, that seems to be a strategy from people who would want to do us harm. It's like, cause your country, your home country businesses to go out of business because people don't want to buy the products that they make by hand using high quality materials that will last for an entire lifetime, because they would rather get it for $19 and have it last for 2 years and have to keep buying it. So it's the better way, even if it's a little bit more painful in the pocketbook. But it's all, all things considered, I don't know about you guys, but we're making more money under the Trump administration. We always have made more money under the Trump administration. There's more jobs available. They pay more. And it's just generally a much better economical situation than previous administrations. Let's see. In order to protect our great heavy truck manufacturers from unfair outside competition, I will be imposing, as of October 1st, 2025, a 25% tariff on all heavy big trucks made in other parts of the world. Therefore, our great large truck company manufacturers such as Peterbilt, Kenworth, Freightliner, Mack Trucks, and others will be protected from the onslaught of outside interruptions. We need our truckers to be financially healthy and strong for many reasons, but above all else, for national security purposes. Yes, we need our manufacturing if we're going to be able to ramp up war machines. Although I don't think we need war machines. Well, not much longer after about, 6 years? I think we got about 6 years before the end of God's wrath. But I don't think he's thinking about those things. But it's a good point, and this is another one of those things that China's been flooding the market. I'm even guilty of this, having a farm. I could go buy a tractor for $25,000 at the John Deere, or the Kubota. I think both John Deere and Kubota actually are manufactured in China. A lot of the parts are manufactured in China now. So he's probably forcing them to bring manufacturing back to the United States. But there are a lot of cheap knockoff tractors to where I could go get one for, say, $6,000. So you're faced with like the $25,000 or the $6,000. It's a huge difference. And that's been something that's been going on for years. So again, it's another one of those things to where, other countries have been, destroying our manufacturing capability. And we need it for security reasons, for national security reasons. We need to be able to produce. We need our factories, because factories will degrade. They'll just crumble to the ground if they're not used. And that's true for a home too. You ever seen an abandoned home? They quickly degrade in no time. Just within just a couple of years, they start to, moss grows, the roof gets destroyed, it starts leaking inside, then the walls go. Same thing with manufacturing plants. If you're not in there with people actually using it, they degrade, they fall apart. So we need manufacturing to be working in our country for our own security, our own good, and for building things. And if you ultimately want prices to stabilize, and us buying products from American made companies making products in America. All right, video.
Ooh, look at that. It says TikTok.
Yikes, that's too loud.
My, what is that all about?
I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. Maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while. For all of those who want to save TikTok in America, vote for Trump. I like TikTok. I like it. I said we need to save TikTok.
There are numerous ways you can buy TikTok, and we will find the one that's best for the country.
I'd like to see TikTok remain alive. TikTok is back.
Wow. I don't know about TikTok. I have a hard time. All of us, me, my wife, my daughter, my kids, all, every one of us, we get into that doom scrolling where it's just like it's so easy to watch the 20 and 30-second videos, and then next thing you know, you've lost 4 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. Or it's like rather than reading a book before bed, you're doom scrolling TikToks and YouTube Shorts. That one's one that I wouldn't mind if that one the sale didn't go through. But I get it, for security reasons, you have a foreign country that controls a major source for information. And Trump proved that because when he got on TikTok at the direction of one of his grandchildren, he was able to persuade millions of voters. So it's a way of reaching people. I don't know. Maybe that's a tool we could use. Maybe this is something that he is protecting so that the churches can continue to shine their lights. Maybe that's why TikTok is sticking around. Maybe it's a good way to reach people with the truth before Christ returns. There you go. That's the way I'm going to look at it. Use TikTok to let your light so shine. Don't hide it under a bushel. Let your light shine. President Trump signs executive order saving TikTok. All right. 57% of Americans approve of President Donald J. Trump. President Donald J. Are we in another? No, we're in the actual main thread. President Donald J. Trump welcomes Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to the White House. This is interesting. I don't think this is a good guy.
President Trump, sir. President Trump, will you allow Turkey to buy F-35, sir? Do you believe Turkey can help end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Turkey can help end the...
Yeah, keep a close eye on Turkey. There's definitely indications that Turkey is involved in the end times. I mean, the 7 churches started there, but also with other prophecies that relate to Turkey. President Donald J. Trump welcomes the elite Marine Corps silent drill platoon to the Oval Office, personally presenting each member with a presidential challenge coin. Oh, that's kind of a... All right, let's see. New lobby leading to Oval Office. Magnificent. Oh, new lobby leading to the Oval Office. Magnificent marble floor. Compliments of President Donald J. Trump. Breaking, another President Trump White House renovation is complete. The Palm Room. Just look at it. Absolutely stunning, especially the floor. Maybe I missed my calling with getting into building. I do love a nice room with really high quality materials. I had a maintenance business from like 2000 to 2010, 2008, 2010, and did a lot of new construction. I just really enjoy buildings and renovations, old buildings. What a great couple. Congratulations, President DJT. That's sweet. Let's see. Trump overnight presidential job approval is in. Single overnight approval for last night, 57.11%. His approval moves up again in the 5-day rolling average. His mugshot. I love his mugshot. All right, what's this?
Not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling, all of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
So that was a snippet from his speech at the United Nations. Very nice.
House is unveiling a presidential walk of fame featuring portraits of U.S. presidents, with the exception of former President Joe Biden. The new display just outside the Oval Office along the colonnade there shows a framed photo of an autopen writing Biden's signature in place of the former president's portrait. The White House released a photo today of President Trump looking at the...
He's such a troll. I love it. Fire from his mouth, devouring his enemies. What else could that be? I mean, it's uncalled for. Under any other circumstances, that would be ridiculous. But given where we are in this day and age, I'm sorry, but that is fire from his mouth. I love it. All right. Dems turn red after Rubio calls him out on live TV, like the gang member you had margaritas with.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's
I
just
like
a flippant statement,
Rubio.
Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his...
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to
freely
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent
How do I get
$14
some of that
million
money?
for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members. gang members, including the one that you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to
Look,
defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
hell.
comments
Senator,
like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your
Rubio
time.
should take that testimony to the federal court of the
Senator?
United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach that foreign partner and talk to them, I am under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming...
Oh, shoot. I hit stop.
How dare we...
Oh, no. Where'd he go? Ah, where'd he go? That was awesome. That was so good.
I have to tell you...
with them, which we have responded to them. And we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador. I am under no obligation under
Hands
our
off the
division of
desk.
powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she
and if you
did?
do
Come
that,
on, Mr. Secretary.
and every single
You're
one of
just
these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator,
The bottom line is, if you're
Senator,
coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we'll
people
revoke
living in
it.
the United
And
States?
we're going to do more.
I wish
There are
they
more
would
coming.
cuss more
We're
during
gonna
this. Can you
continue to
imagine him?
revoke
Shut the
visas
F
for
up.
people who are here as guests and are disrupting
Sorry.
our higher education facilities.
I'm
People are
Scottish.
paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk to
Writing
a
an
bunch of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy
that.
of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke
I
it.
feel so much safer
All right,
when you
let's,
lock up people like Ms. Ostork, Ms. Secretary.
We've had enough.
Wow. Sorry. I don't normally like to watch the people being... I don't like really emotional debates, because I don't think you're really accomplishing anything. Because once your emotions, and this just goes for all debates, once your emotions are so tense, you're not really trying to win somebody over with your argument. You're trying to win somebody over with your emotions. But this one was good. They were pretty level-headed. Mark Rubio was making really good points. It was hard to kind of follow him there after, at a point, because he was trying to get it all out before this guy, was interrupting him again. So I don't like screaming matches. Let's just put it that way. This was a little bit better than a screaming match. But yeah, so debates, I think the best debates that benefit both parties are when you have two people willing to listen to each other and ask genuine questions from each other. As soon as things start to get really highly emotional, then the debate switches to something entirely different. And I'm not a professional debater, But I imagine you would need to learn, which type you're in. Obviously, if things start to get really heated, but I'm sure there's strategies that you can employ in order to either turn it down or to not let your opponent sway, the opinions of those who are watching it based on, their emotions or whatever, just because they scream louder. Because that's such a Democrat thing, right? He who screams the loudest wins. Yeah. Not old Democrat, new Democrats. All right, Ted Cruz. He's always good to watch too.
How dare we lie and cover up what we all knew? The Biden administration may go down in history as the most brazen constitutional fraud in American history.
Rider on the red horse.
A Potemkin presidency fronted by a failing puppet.
Power to take
with
peace.
Staffers behind the scenes pulling the strings.
Yeah.
This is not political hyperbole. The American people saw it with their own eyes during the June 2024 debate. Numerous times, Biden stood frozen behind the podium.
Yeah.
Mouth agape, eyes frozen and unblinking. When he did speak, his words were confused and disjointed. I said that night, this is the most consequential presidential debate in history because it will result in one of the two candidates being removed from the ballot.
Which is a part of the Ezra Ziegel.
That was exactly right. And following that debate, the Democrats recognized the collapse. They pulled out their knives and took out President Biden like Caesar on the Ides of March. For all of their strutting about, protesting that they support democracy, not a one of them gave a damn about democracy when they pulled Biden off the ballot and dropped Kamala Harris in without a single Democrat primary voter voting for him.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years. They knew. Every one of them knew that Joe Biden was mentally not competent to do the job. The White House press secretary, she knew when she stood in front of the American people and lied over and over and over again. And they're not here because they can't defend themselves. It wasn't a surprise. For 4 years, the White House hid President Biden from Republican senators. Would not let him meet with us. He served 40 years in this body. We all know him. And they deliberately lied. And by the way, Jake Tapper had a bombshell book exposing the incredible scandal that Biden's mental decline was covered up by Jake Tapper. There's a Yiddish word, chutzpah. And that truly is chutzpah. How dare we lie and cover up what we all knew? Now, I have been asked literally 1,000 times by Texans, who was running the country? And I'm going to give you the most terrifying answer. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And not a single Democrat here cares. The most telling proof of Biden's decline came with the signature of the president, the symbol of executive authority that was outsourced to a machine.
Which is why that's
Mr. Wold,
the
you're
picture
a lawyer
hanging
who served
on the
in White
wall.
House counsel's office.
The
You
autopen.
understand the gravity of presidential action. Does the president's signature carry legal and constitutional weight under Article 2?
Yes.
Is the act of signing an executive order or signing a law or granting a pardon a delegable duty of the president?
So in that opinion in 2005 from OLC, they said essentially that an autopen could be used by a subordinate, but the president's determination as to sign the document can never be delegated.
Can that authority be transferred to a staffer or a machine without the president's explicit authorization?
He already answered
Never.
that.
And if you look at the statistics are stunning. In 2021, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an autopen. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78 executive orders he signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the autopen emerge. The first autopen executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an autopen. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders.
I need to put this stuff on the calendar.
16 were autopenned. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were autopenned. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was autopenned. Mr. Wald, let me ask you as a legal matter, if there's a law that's passed both houses of Congress and it goes to the White House, and a staffer autopens signing that law without the president's authorization, is that law legally passed and signed into law?
No.
If an executive order is issued and a staffer autopens it without the president's authorization, is that executive order legally binding?
No.
And if a pardon is issued from the President of the United States and a staffer autopens it without the President's authorization, is that pardon legally binding?
No.
Under the Biden White House, the ceremonial song, Hail to the Chief, was effectively replaced with Hail to the Pen. And it was an outright assault on democracy. And every reporter covering this ought to ask, why doesn't a Democrat care? We heard about the moral responsibilities of a staffer. How about an elected senator who knows damn well that if we get into a war and Iran is preparing to fire a nuclear weapon at the United States, that the commander-in-chief is busy playing with his Jell-O and is not competent to defend ourselves? And every member of the cabinet, the chief of staff, the press secretary, and the members of Congress who lied about this on a daily basis with the press's complicity, they are all responsible for subverting democracy.
Yeah. I wasn't planning to watch that whole thing. It was just so good. Oh my God. How many of these do we have? Another one that's 7 minutes. I don't know if we're going to watch this whole thing, but if it's as good as the other ones, we might.
We caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room.
At least I'm not the only one who chases squirrels when talking.
Putting it here, but I do. But you know what? You look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. I like to say, let's give it time.
It was during Obama's administration, his time in office, that racism really became a thing. Before Obama, racism was not a thing, at least in my recollection.
They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what
all right, I don't think we're going to learn anything else from watching that 7 minutes. If you've seen it and think we should go back and finish it, please let me know. But I want to keep going. All right, Jack obliterated her Sunday night in their debate. I was astounded at how ill prepared she was. She refused to answer almost every question given to her and talked in circles. Reminded me of Kamala Harris. If he loses to her, it will be because of cheating. I believe this is referring to an election debate. I didn't watch it. I have no idea what the context is. Should we go look in? What's going on in my light here? Let's see. I have no idea what this thread's about. Does anybody know what this is about? I don't know the context on this. Yeah. Oh, hey, maybe he gives us the context here. See, we need to start at like the oldest comment. It's I think we get better context that way. Wow, a just out poll has Jack Citarelli essentially beating close to incompetent Mike Sherrill in his race for governor of New Jersey. Well, there you go. Now we have the context. Jack is tough on crime and cutting taxes, two things that people really demand today. He will be a great governor, and Sherrill wants open borders again, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone, and all of the things that almost destroyed America. She is a big supporter of perhaps future communist mayor of New York City. Oh, yeah. She is a big supporter of the perhaps future communist mayor of New York City. We need Jack in New Jersey. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. Okay. So apparently there was a debate and he did very well. Good to know. Let's see. Is this where we left off? Let's see. Where's this one from? I think we read this one, but we'll read it just to be sure. A real disgrace took place at the United Nations yesterday. Not one, not two, but three very sinister events. First, the escalator going up to the main speaking floor came to a screeching halt. It stopped on a dime. Yeah, we did read this. Yeah, we read all this. So I think this is probably the end of what he's posted today. Yep. Kamala Harris is dumb as a rock. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our guy, Elon. I'm sure it's all about XAI and voting for Tesla, but let's check it out. How to vote your Tesla shares. Yep. All right, XAI News. AI filed a lawsuit. Yes. Oh, yeah. So there is some interesting stuff going on with AI in America that I think is important that we're across. Let's see. XAI filed a lawsuit yesterday in the United States District Court for Northern District of California, accusing OpenAI of systematically poaching former XAI employees, including engineer Zhu-Chen Lee, Jimmy Freicher, and a redacted ex-executive, possibly an ex-CFO, Mike Lieberstore, to steal trade secrets on Grok's source code, business plans, and data center operations. Per the lawsuit, so that's what companies do. So in the tech industry, it is really common for companies. So it's really common. So being an old guy engineer, you learn a lot of things. So when you're looking for a job, you have to make yourself seem very young and have a lot of experience with different companies. And the reason is they want employees who have worked at a company between just a couple of months to like no more than a year. And that's because they poach them from each other. And instead of like stealing trade secrets, instead of trying to invent something themselves, they just hire the people who know how to do it. Don't tell them, like, oh, you have to give us the trade secrets. No, they just say, we need an activity stream with an algorithm. Let's hire somebody who's done that before, and then just put them on it. And obviously, they're going to build it the way that they learned in the places they've worked in the past. So that's how companies steal trade secrets now, is they just poach employees. That's why you'll see in like TV shows like Silicon Valley, to where companies will really pour on the sugar with trying to, they'll give you Teslas, they'll give you massive signing bonuses, they'll give you shares, all the promises in the world just to get, high value employees who are working on intellectual property to come over to their company so that they can find out what edge, if any, that you have and be competitive. It's very sneaky and undercutting, but it's interesting because long-term employees, they don't do well. When I was back in the job market, and because I've got like 10, 15 years at different places, and the professional resume and job hunters told me, yeah, you've got to cut that stuff down because that's a big turnoff for companies. They don't want well-entrenched. You would think they would want well-entrenched employees who have been places for long periods of time, but they want the younger talent who is put on the big high value things. Yeah. Per the lawsuit, the desire to win to win the artificial intelligence race has driven OpenAI to cross the line of fair play. OpenAI violated California and federal law by inducing former XAI employees. So we sent them many warning letters, but they continued to cheat. Lawsuit was the only option after exhausting all others. Man, I tell you, OpenAI is an evil, evil company. If any of the stuff in any of the prophecies actually have anything to do with AI, it's going to involve OpenAI on the evil side of things. Elon started XAI because of the evil that OpenAI is doing. And they just continue. Let's see. Just turn on voice and talk immediately on opening the Grok app. Okay. One of the best things about Grok app, voice mode is activated by default just as you enter. Yeah, Grok, they've also made it in Teslas to where you can double tap the mic button and just start talking to Grok, which is great because, we use it for all kinds of things. Anytime, like if I have if I have an idea about something that I want to study, Grok is one of the best study tools. It's so much faster to get to what the original language was and what, the common interpretation of something is. And, if there's any debate about something, are there any opponents to a particular section of scripture? Grok is such an amazing tool for that. AI in general, just because it's a massive database that you can articulate questions to, and it'll respond intelligently. All right, this is still just version 13. Tesla full self-driving supervised review in Australia. Once you've driven with full self-driving for any length of time, it's hard to imagine life without it. True. Elon Musk and Tesla have changed the way we drive forever. There's no looking back. We put it through a weekend of challenging traffic situations, road work. Yeah. Merging, disappearing lanes, six-way intersections, Saturday sport traffic, Sunday slow drivers, and the system negotiated them all with nuance and aplomb. Indeed, it is so good. It is easy to use and stress-free experience. Might even convince my 40-something wife to finally get her driver's license. It's that good. Huh. Yeah, full self-driving is pretty awesome. If you guys don't know anything about it, if you go to a Tesla dealership and do a full self-driving experience, just to get the feel for where technology has come from. I can literally get in my car. I can have an event on my calendar, get in my car. It'll already know where it is that I need to go. All I got to do is, basically click start. It's a little bit more to it than that, but it's getting there. Click start and it'll drive me literally from my driveway to the parking lot where I'm going, unassisted in most cases. It's absolutely amazing. It navigates some of the most complicated traffic situations, roundabouts with traffic coming in and out really aggressively, having to cross multiple lanes of traffic, overtaking cars. Yeah. In the newer Teslas, there's a camera in the cabin that watches you to where you have to pay attention to the road. You don't have to have your hands on the steering wheel. You can actually put your hands in your lap, but you have to pay attention to the road, because if you look away for like more than like 5 seconds, it'll start beeping at you. Like, pay attention to the road, because that's what it means when it says supervised. Older cars, like I think manufactured before 2017, don't have that camera in the cab. So you actually have to keep your hands on the wheel because it needs to feel you jiggling the wheel. But yeah, full self-driving is pretty darn amazing. And Elon says that 14 is so from 12 to 13 was a massive change, because you got pretty much complete hands-free from driveway to driveway. And he said that version 14 is another massive leap, which is the one they're getting ready to release this year. So yeah, Teslas are pretty cool. If you don't have one, if you need a referral code, let me know. I'll send you one. I'll send you my referral code. They give you free stuff, both you and me. You guys get like free supercharging and money off your cars and stuff like that. And we get free supercharging, which supercharging is cheap. I mean, where you would probably spend $150 to fill up a tank of gas, it costs, I think, about $22 in a Tesla, depending on where because there's different rates. The chargers are similar to gas stations. They have different rates, but on average, to like fill up your tank in a Tesla at a supercharger is like $22. If you do it at your home, we've got really cheap electricity where we're at. I think it's $6 or $7. So to charge our car from 0 to full is like $7 if we charge it at home. If we're on the road and we do like 0 to full, it's like $22. Just to give you an idea on cost. Let's see. Here's how to use Grok as an app with just one click on your MacBook. No need to open Safari. Oh, I need to install that on my computers. The easiest way to install. Cool. All right. What else? We haven't forgotten about you, Arena. Yeah. Yeah. Before Charlie, that was the big news. Murders on the rise. These mentally insane people who should be in prison are still loose and hurting people. No, you can't just print money indefinitely. While true, print money. So that's a programming loop to just say print money forever, print money infinitely. So you can print money infinitely, but it's just the word, just the word money. All righty. I warned you this would happen. I don't know if we're going to watch this whole thing. It's 10 minutes. We'll listen to it though.
Myself, I warned you this would happen.
Oops.
My entire public career since 2016 has been predicated on describing what anyone could see with their own eyes. The left was going off the deep end. The first and most obvious sign of this was the response to the Brexit vote here in Britain and the election of President Trump in the United States. As a Remain voter and a Trump skeptic myself, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I devoured Ayn Rand's writings in my youth, and while much of my thinking has evolved significantly since, one quote stayed with me. Contradictions do not exist. Whenever you think you're facing a contradiction, check your premises. You will find that one of them is wrong. In other words, if events you cannot believe keep happening, you're missing something. Because of this, even as a default liberal in 2016, I had one choice and one choice only: to ask what I was missing and seek information outside of my bubble. This, incidentally, was the genesis of trigonometry. But that is not what my soon-to-be former friends on the left did. Instead, they buried their heads even deeper in the sand, something, as I've spoken about before, even ostriches are not stupid enough to do. While Steve Bannon, who orchestrated Trump's first electoral success, and Nigel Farage, the driving force behind Brexit, went from podcast to podcast and TV show to TV show to explain exactly how they'd done it, the media and political left kept screaming about Russian interference, fascism, and stupid racist voters. And, in many ways, this seemed to work. Destroying people's careers, ruining their lives, and keeping them quiet through fear of being next kept the lid from flying off the pressure cooker. Peaking during the summer of BLM in 2020, when people were fired for questioning the idea of white privilege and failing to post black squares on social media, cancel culture was an effective tool used by the left to retain cultural hegemony and prevent political opponents from winning. Hard as it is to believe now, there was a time when all social media companies enforced woke orthodoxy and censored dissent. Feminists like our guest Meghan Murphy were banned from Twitter for saying men can't become women. Suggesting that COVID was likely to have originated in a Chinese laboratory, now the consensus view of the CIA, FBI, prominent scientists, and a wide range of reputable organizations resulted in an instant and coordinated ban across social media. These platforms even colluded with mainstream media outlets to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was blatant and undeniable election interference. Throughout this period, those of us on the left who reluctantly voiced opposition to this behavior on the basis that it contradicted every principle the left had stood for our entire lives, namely belief in freedom of speech, science, the pursuit of truth, skepticism of big pharma, opposition to racial discrimination, free and fair elections, and so on, were told that we were not in fact on the left. On the contrary, we were now right-wing, and even eventually far-right, as this cartoon from my friend Colin Wright illustrates. These smears were based on a number of things, but chief among them was a complete failure of imagination. Hard as it may be for those of us with a functioning brain to understand, many of the left genuinely thought that they would get away with this. One defining feature of wokeness is an unshakable belief in your own virtue and righteousness, which blinds you to the possibility that you may be wrong, or at the very least, strategically misguided.
Yeah.
There is, of course, a version of this on the right, but more on that later. Suffice it to
not
say
just
that
the
the left
left,
thought they could
religious people
censor,
too.
smear, and cancel their way to a permanent dominance of media, entertainment, education, and ultimately political power. It was therefore irrelevant whether their behavior violated.
I have no idea what point he's getting to, but he keeps saying things that are obviously true. I want to know what his point is, where, Constantine here said, I warned you this would happen. But he makes a good point about people who are blind to their own virtue because they just think they're right about everything. I hope you don't think that I think I'm right about everything. I'm just willing to defend the things that I claim because my opinions, they've changed over time. You can watch videos, of me talking about the seals opening and, as data came in, it's changed. I would like to see that attribute in everyone. Yes, by all means, defend what it is that you believe, but also be willing to admit that you're wrong if, good evidence is presented that at least introduces the possibility of doubting the things that you say or believe,
to their own principles. Like dictators who've been in charge too long, who somehow combine their sense of their own invulnerability with a paranoid fear of criticism and challenge. The result? An inability to change course based on real-world feedback, paired with an increasingly brutal apparatus for suppressing dissent.
And that's one thing that's very different about Donald Trump is we've seen him change as information has come in. And they use that against him. But, that's a virtue.
Power, they refused to listen to those of us who kept warning them with an obvious and simple message. The weapons you're using today will be used against you. And sure enough, the supremacy the left enjoyed was never going to last. Many dislike what Twitter has become since Elon Musk's takeover. I share some of those concerns, but it's undeniable that his purchase of that platform just 3 years ago changed everything. The reason it did is best summarized by Brett Weinstein, who coined the phrase, "Zero is a special number." The emergence of just one censorship-free platform rendered censorship on other platforms pointless and even dangerous to their business. Why ban something from Facebook?
I need to put the purchase of Twitter and the start of Truth Social on my timeline. What was the other thing I needed to put on there? Biden autopen. So I'm going to add these to the timeline. Add to timelines. Because one of the things I'm trying to determine, because I don't feel like I have enough information on the 1,260 days. And this came up again yesterday when I was looking at my data. I have two possible futures for the next seals to be open. One of them is the symmetrical mirror image of the seals, which oddly enough, February is still seal number 5. In both timelines, both versions, seal number 5 opens in February. Where it starts to deviate is seal number 6 and seal number 7. On the symmetrical timeline, seal number 7 is I have opening, and I think it's like 2027. And what I mean by symmetrical is it's a mirror image to where that may very well be why we only had 4 living creatures calling attention to the first 4 seals, is because we have all the information we need to be able to identify when the remaining 3 seals open, because it's a mirror image. So in the same way that you and I have, left and right hands, if you see somebody's left hand, they have a right hand because our body is a mirror image. So that's one timeline. And the reason I bring that up is that one busts my 1,260 day count right now. I started the count from January 20th, 2025, when Donald Trump officially took office. That was his first day as president. I started that count because that's the first day that both Elon Musk and Donald Trump started working together. Both of them have been blabbing their mouth for a long time, but I almost wonder if we couldn't look at another date of when Truth Social started and when Elon bought Twitter, because that's when freedom of speech was kind of saved, because this cancel culture was finally put on hold. They were able to finally stop the lies and the cancel culture once those two platforms really got a foothold. Which, if that's the case, then that would line up much better with the mirror image timeline, where I've got seal number 7 opening in like 2027, I think it is. Might be 2028. Here, I can actually go look. I started putting these on my timeline. It is called Prophecy Claims. Here, I'll share this with you guys. Prophecy. I've got to have a tab of it somewhere, right? Here it is. All right, you see that? Yeah. All right, so this is the new software I've been writing so that we can, let's see. Zoom in. There you go. Zoom out. That's what I'm working on today, is getting these guys to move in better ways. All right, so this is the Revelation 12 sign. This is when Jupiter went into retrograde. So this is the Revelation 12 sign. This is seal 1, 2, 3. And then you have seal 4, 4A, so death followed by hell. And then the next seal candidate is right here. So it is February. That's actually wrong. It's supposed to be February 17th, 2016. I need to fix that. February 17th, I think, is when the actual eclipse happens. So the symmetrical, which it doesn't really look like it here because these are down here, but if I had those up top here, this would be the symmetrical calendar, to where these ones mirror these ones. And what I mean by mirrors, they have the same day counts between them, which it's really fascinating that this is a possibility, because to the day there is a mirror of eclipses. There's this one on February 17th mirrors this one, seal number 3. Yeah, so seal number 5 mirrors seal number 3, and that here I actually have the day count somewhere too. Let me see if I can find that one for you guys. I had it up just a little while ago. What did I do with it? This guy? Nope. This other, here, let me just load the software that I made the calendar in. Where did you go? There you go. Is that it? Oh, let's see. Timeline. Open review. There we go. Oh, yeah, I had it right there. It's just in the wrong tab. Alrighty. Can you guys see that? Yeah. Okay. So you can see that. This one, you can see the count and the symmetrical nature. So from seal number 4, so this eclipse on the 14th, so October 14th, 2023. Yeah, 2023 to February 17th, 2026 is 856 days. So from this eclipse to this eclipse is 856 days. And from this eclipse, which is in the center, to this eclipse, seal number 3, is 856 days. So you have a symmetrical period of time here to where seal number 5 mirrors seal number 3. That's why they're both green. And then this one is 178 days. So between this eclipse and this eclipse is 178 days. Well, it just so happens that after this February 17th, 2026 eclipse, there's another one on August 12th, 2026. And then likewise between this one and this one, so seal number 2 and seal number 1, 353 days. Well, on this other side, there just happens to be between this, so between August 12th, 2026 and August 2nd, 2027, 355 days. So that's close enough to call it symmetrical because of the way days are counted. So this is based on like a Gregorian, morning to like midnight to midnight, where the Hebrew reckoning is typically sundown to sundown. So if you get it within a couple of days, it's symmetrical. So, but this is really interesting because, in the same way that, if you see somebody with a right hand, they have a left hand because of the mirror nature of the human body. So this one I'm kind of leaning towards, which if this is true, it throws into question my counting of the 1,260 days, because the seal number 7 would be opening before the 2 witnesses are killed and left in the street for 3.5 days. Because the earliest, so based on January 20th, 2025, that's the starting date that I picked. That puts it in April of 2028, I think, or July. I have it on the other calendar. Let me go. Okay, I'm just going to put both of these on the same tab. Prophecy claims. Here, am I sharing that tab? Yeah, prophecy claims, explore timelines. There's only one other person doing a timeline here, guys. All right, this one. So I put end of the one. So July 2nd, 2028. So this timeline, this one, I need to fix those jumping around. I need to make them like stable. I think what I'm going to do is do fixed positions. Maybe I'll work on that tonight. Anyway, so these are the symmetrical dates: seal number 5, 6, and 7. That would put the 2 witnesses being killed here, July 2nd, 2028. So if this timeline, if these are the next seals then we would need to find another starting date for when the 1,260 days starts, because it needs to end here, I think. So I think the two witnesses are what kick off seal number 6. When they die, I think that's seal number 6. So we would want to subtract 1,260 days from August. This one did it again too. What's going on? Somebody's changing my oh yeah, no, August 12th. Why does it show 11 there? Bug in the system. Okay. Yeah, so what is August 12th? Let me go ask Grok. So what is 1,260 days subtracted from 8/12/2028? Is that when it was? 2026. 8/12/2026. See if there's anything substantial that happened that day. Give it a minute here. March 1st, 2023. So that would be the next day that we would count from. March 1st, 2023. Let's see. Did anything happen with Donald Trump or Elon Musk around this time? We'll just say around this time. So like I said, you can fudge it a little. Let's see. To determine if anything significant happened with Donald Trump or Elon Musk around March 1st. Okay, so DeSantis campaign announcement and Trump's response. Nothing with directly. Don't pinpoint an event. Twitter-related controversies. Musk was involved in high-profile controversy after firing a Twitter employee. So he had owned Twitter by this point. Musk's role in hosting DeSantis campaign announcement in March of 2023. Musk posted various topics in March 2023. Trump and Musk relationship. No direct collaboration or conflict. The sources didn't indicate specific interaction between Trump and Musk. Contact. Yeah, see, I don't know. See, this is the thing, is there's nothing I can really, unless I'm wrong about the two witnesses, which I could be. I could very well be. Give me better candidates who are better people that are tormenting the world right now, who are breathing fire from their mouth like Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Musk embroiled in controversy over firing a Twitter employee. Yeah, see, this is the thing that kind of makes me question the symmetrical timeline and has me leaning towards the non-symmetrical timeline, which is this guy right here. So this is the one that I maintain is probably most likely. Seal number 5 opens on the same day, February 17, 2026, but I have seal number 6 probably closer to January 26, 2028, which that's a lot closer to that March, not March, July. When do we say July? Oops. July 2nd, 2028. Yeah, at least it's, oh yeah, I have it right here on the timeline. July 3rd. Yeah, so seal number 6, and then you'd have 6 months. So you'd have the opening of seal number 6, and then basically 6 months later, you'd have the two witnesses dead. That sounds more realistic to me. And then you'd have seal number 7 open up roughly around May of 2031, which is where a lot of people, a lot of other watchmen's calculations tend to end up, is in 2030, 2031. This is the one I lean towards, even though it's not symmetrical. I like the idea of the symmetrical timeline better, just because of the mirror image with the, time and a half of times and the 1,260 days. Those are nice, convenient half of 7 years. So I don't know what got me on that. Let's get back to whatever it was that brought up that squirrel.
When everyone will just access it on a competitor platform. The result has been an acceleration of two connected processes, the rise of new media and the fall of legacy media, culminating in the election of President Trump in 2024.
Oh yeah,
Wokeness was comprehensively defeated at the ballot box. The owners of the online platforms all turned up to kiss the ring at their inauguration, and the cultural balance of power shifted massively to the right. While I was less enthusiastic about this outcome than many of my actually right-wing friends, I was nonetheless relieved. The lunacy of open borders, blatant racial and sex-based discrimination called DEI, the legalization of crime, the increasingly counterproductive egging on of Ukraine without sufficient practical support, the mutilation of children in the name of trans ideology, and the general stench of decline had to end. Since Trump's election, several major political battles have been fought, but so far, the right has mostly resisted the urge to take vengeance on the left at scale. Yes, individual opponents like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Hillary Clinton had their Secret Service protection and security clearances withdrawn. Yes, the Department of Justice launched criminal probes into law firms with ties to Clinton and George Soros. But the right has not engaged in systematic cancel culture which targets ordinary people, comedians, and hostile media organizations. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, however, appears to be the excuse some on the right were waiting for. The mood is best summed up by Gavin McInnes, who at least deserves credit for his honesty, if not for the utter naked vengefulness of his position. Responding to Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air for accidentally or deliberately lying about the killer of Charlie Kirk being a MAGA guy, he said,
"What we did in canceling Jimmy Kimmel is hypocritical. We talk about free speech, and then when someone says something we don't like, we cancel them. It's not consistent with our values. And I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. You kicked me in the balls, I gouge out your fucking eyes."
Some of my right-leaning viewers will be tempted at this point to accuse me of defending the left or suggesting that there's an exact equivalence between the left and right on this issue. Let me clarify. I can't deny a certain satisfaction at being proven right after years of being smeared and attacked for warning this would happen, for trying to encourage the left to stay principled, for saying that wrong...
Oh, dang it, I did it again. I really need to keep my hand off the touchpad. Let's go back here.
Encourage the left to stay principled, for saying that wrong is wrong, whoever's doing it. I shed no tears for Jimmy Kimmel. Moreover, I believe his employer was right to reprimand him, demand that he apologize, and withdraw his irresponsible and shameful...
Yeah, so what happened with Jimmy Kimmel is not the same as what was happening with canceling with cancel culture. People's presence were being completely removed from any online presence. YouTube accounts, not Rumble, YouTube accounts, Twitter accounts, TikTok accounts. I mean, like, all social media was banning people for speaking the truth, which is not the same as what Jimmy Kimmel did, where he was saying that Charlie Kirk's own people took him out as a means of, mocking the death of a human being. So for an employer to fire somebody over that is not the same as completely removing their presence from the internet. Just to be clear about that.
Lies about the man who shot Charlie Kirk, who, according to all the evidence, was a trans-obsessed, radicalized anti-fascist. The problem is, however, that Kimmel was taken off the air in response to pressure from the government. Yeah. According to reports and comments by its own chairman on a recent podcast,
that's not what I understood to be true. And I could be wrong about this, but from my sources, I heard that it wasn't the government pressuring. I mean, yeah, Donald Trump. Okay, so if you consider Donald Trump to be the government and his mocking and getting after ABC and NBC for allowing Jimmy Kimmel to be a bad comedian, which I agree, he's not funny anymore. He used to be funny. He's not funny anymore. All it is political hate speech on his show. The dude has been losing. That's what Trump's been saying. He's losing ratings because he's not funny. That's just truth. That's just Trump telling the truth. I don't know if you can really call that pressure from the government. However, I can see why some people would frame it that way. But the reason he got taken off, from what I understand, is because the advertisers went to the companies and said, take him off now, or we're not spending money with you anymore. That was the pressure that they got that got him taken off so quickly, is he basically got fired. It just so happened that Trump was not lying about Jimmy not being funny anymore. He's not. Ever since he started this whole hate MAGA movement, just not funny. He's in the hate Trump. He's obsessed with hating Trump.
The FCC threatened Kimmel's employer into action. While many on the right were quick to push back on Attorney General Pam Bondi when she said that she was going to go after hate speech, this latest development has been widely met with endorsement. McInnes is more blunt than most, but I know from many private conversations that the sentiment he expressed in the clip that we just played is widely shared on the right. It's especially strange having to explain that this approach is wrong to people whose entire brand is based on their passionate Christianity. I'm neither devout nor particularly practicing, and I'd be lying if I told you I feel no anger or resentment towards those who smeared, cancelled, and bullied, who dismissed instead of listening, who punished those of us who dared to disagree. But the idea that we must resist the worst urges within us seems to me the central pillar of Christ's message. If the right does indeed succumb to the voices intent on vengeance, wrath, and resentment, that would be a disaster, not just for free speech, but for all of us. The left refused to play fair for a decade, and now the right is poised to do the same. Those of us who believe in preventing a downward spiral of endless extremism will inevitably be stuck in the middle. Because, as I've said before, if that happens, it's extremism all the way down. If you enjoy these...
Okay, so I get what he's saying. I warned you this would happen. Basically, they were using weapons against... The left is using weapons against the right, and now they're crying because in their opinion, the right's doing the same thing. I disagree that it's happening in the same way. Like I said, it's not like we're completely removing Kimmel, any name of Kimmel, and any exposure that he had. It's just he got fired from his job because he wasn't funny, and he crossed the line when he was mocking somebody who had been assassinated. I don't care who had been assassinated, somebody on the left or the right. It's not funny to make fun of them. I'm sorry. It's inappropriate. Anyway, moving on. I don't think Elon posted much else. He's probably busy with his investors meetings. So this is like, we're already at the end. This is just a commercial for a Cybertruck. You either love them or you hate them. I love them. Cybertrucks are freaking awesome. But some people hate them. 13 years ago today. Let's see. Yeah, no, we're definitely out of Elon posts. Sometimes I say things so profound that people think that it's stupid, and sometimes I say things so stupid that people think it's profound. Yeah. Yep. Alrighty. Well, there we are. That is the end of that. What are we going to do next? I did promise that we would study the word hate. So let's do that. Let's get over here. We'll do some grok study. But before we do that, I'll come over here and answer y'all's questions. Let me do this. Turn this screen back on. Is that right? Okay. And then we'll move this over here so I can actually look at you guys, because it's weird when I'm not looking at you. Maybe. I don't know if I can change. How do I change views? All my buttons change as soon as I move this to this other screen. Do I have a way to control this? Here, okay, we'll do this. There you go. Sorry. I just want to read your guys' comments here, and I want to be looking at you because it's weird when I'm looking off into the corners or something like that. So looking at the camera, I've got the screen here, so I can see you guys, and you can see me. All righty. What do we got? Let's see. Thank you. This might be a dumb question, but why Jesus never said who the two witnesses are? I don't think he came outright and said it explicitly, but I think that it may have been hinted at when he was on the mountain and speaking to Moses and Elijah, which is one of the reasons why people one of many reasons why people are looking for Moses and Elijah. There's a lot of candidates for the two witnesses, Moses and Elijah, Moses and Enoch, Zerubbabel and Joseph, the sun and the moon, the Old Testament and New Testament. These are just some of the top candidates that people have speculated on for who the two witnesses are. Smyrna and Philadelphia, the two churches with nothing to repent from. There's a good argument for all of those. So Moses and Elijah, the argument is because when you look at the attributes of the two witnesses, with them stopping the rain and killing their enemies by fire and control over the plagues, well, Moses, when he helped the children of Israel, lead the children of Israel out of bondage, was the spearhead for the plagues. So there's that. And then you have Elijah, who stopped the rain for 3 years and then, burned his enemy. He didn't burn them with fire, but when he killed the 450 prophets of Baal by the sword, there was fire involved. So that's one of the reasons why people look at Moses and Elijah. I think the strongest case is because of them appearing to Jesus on the mountain. So in a way, he did kind of name them, but I take that to mean that doesn't have to literally be Moses and Elijah, but people in the spirit of Moses and Elijah. And that is based on the fact that John the Baptist was said to have the spirit of Elijah from his birth on him. And while John denied being Elijah, Jesus reaffirmed that he was the Elijah prophesied of in Malachi. Let's go look at Malachi. I'll just read it to you because I don't want to have to switch screens. Malachi 4, I think it is. There's only like four books in the 4 chapters in Malachi. For behold, the day is coming, burning like an oven, and all the proud, yes, all who do wickedly, will be stubble. And the day which is coming shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts. They will leave them neither root nor branch, but to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise, with healing in his wings. And you shall go out and grow fat like stall-fed calves. You shall trample the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. On the day that I do this, says the Lord of hosts, remember the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded him in Horeb for all of Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, this is the prophecy, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. Now, some people point this out as a contradiction because Jesus named John as this person. He said, if you're willing to accept it, John was... Here, let me read it. Where's that one? I think if I just type in the word Elijah, it'll come up. So I think it's in Matthew. Got to get through all the 1st and 2nd Kings. It's in Matthew 17. Yeah. Matthew. Oops. Where is it? Matthew 4. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before. Nope, that's Malachi 4:5. And if you're willing to, so I was wrong. Matthew 11:14. All read that for you. Let's see. Yes, I say, let's see. As they departed, Jesus began to say to the multitude concerning John, what did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments. Indeed, those who hear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet, for this is he whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before me. Assuredly, I say to you, among those born of women, there has not risen one greater than John the Baptist, but he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you are willing to receive it, he is Elijah who is to come. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. There's a callback to Revelation, a call forward actually. But to what shall I liken this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplace and calling to their companions and saying, we played the flute for you and you did not dance. We mourned to you and you did not lament. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, look, a glutton and a winebibber, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is justified by her children. There's a lot to unpack there, even overlaps with Donald Trump. But yeah, I mean, you have an overlap with Donald Trump. So there are some who have speculated that in Malachi 4:5, shoot, now I got to go back there. Malachi 4:5, where it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming. Oh, it's in 6 that I need. So 4, 5, and 6. Come on, give me 6. There it is. Before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. So some people interpret this because Jesus called John the Baptist. You know what? I don't think I didn't read the verse. So there's one where he says, indeed, Elijah came, or no, indeed, Elijah is coming and has already come. That's the one I was looking for. Let me go find that one. Indeed, Elijah is coming. Matthew 17:11. I was right. I thought it was in Matthew 17. Let's read the full chapter. So Matthew 17:11. And his disciples asked him, saying, why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? Jesus answered and said to them, indeed, Elijah is coming first and will restore all things. But I say to you that Elijah has already come, and they did not know him, but did to him whatever they wished. Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer at their hands. So one of the interpretations of Matthew 17:11 is that because it says, indeed, Elijah is coming first and will restore all things, that Jesus is referring to an Elijah in the future as well as Elijah in his time. So basically referring to the spirit of Elijah. In other words, somebody who is like Elijah. And then the way that connects to Malachi 4, 5, and 6 is if you break this into 2 parts, before the coming of the great and dreadful day, he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. Some think of that as the first coming. So that would be what John the Baptist did. He turned the hearts of the fathers to the children. And then the next Elijah, the one that comes after John to prepare the way for the return of Christ, which is a reference to that Matthew 17:11, where Jesus says, indeed, Elijah is coming. His job is to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers. So you have the hearts of the fathers to the children, and then the hearts of the children to the fathers. So one interpretation of this of Elijah is that there are people who will come who are like Elijah and have his attributes and his nature, also known as having his spirit. Now, I don't know if that means that like literally Elijah is a spirit in the same way that like the Nephilim demons roam the earth and that spirit is able to be upon somebody. I don't think that's correct. I think it makes more sense that they would be like that person, just in the same way that some people are like Jezebel. I don't know if that necessarily means that they have like Jezebel within them. There's some things that we just can't know until Christ returns. There are people who will tell you they know because they've seen certain things, but seeing things is not necessarily always proof of what is really true. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons why Moses and Elijah are often thought of as the two witnesses, because there's an interpretation that there would be a third Elijah, and then we just kind of throw Moses in there too. But there's good arguments for other witnesses, like the sun and the moon is one of my favorite ones, because Psalm 19 says, the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament shows his handiwork, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night shows knowledge, to where you basically have the sun and the moon as they move around, they're conveying knowledge. Basically, it tells the story of redemption. And then the Old Testament and the New Testament is another good one for the two witnesses. And then you have the churches, because there's two churches out of the seven that Jesus lists that are mentioned in Revelation 2 and 3. Two of the seven churches have nothing to repent from. And in Revelation 11, it says that these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks, which is that connection to the two churches. So my opinion, and where I put my stake in the ground, is that the two witnesses are likely two gentlemen who have similar attributes as Moses and Elijah, who are leading the two churches with nothing to repent from. That's the way I view it, because Zechariah 4 says that you have the two olive trees, which are providing the oil for the lamps. So in all references where the two witnesses are talked about, you always have the olive trees and the lamps. So that's in Zechariah 4. And then in Revelation 11, you have the olive trees and the lamps. These are the two olive trees and the lamps. So from my perspective, it seems like there's two men who are leaders like Moses and Elijah, who are making it possible for the two churches to be able to shine as lights. Because that's what a lamp does. It holds light. It holds a fire. Which is why I think fire is also speaking the truth. So hence why Trump is buying TikTok, or allowing America to buy TikTok. Crazy studies. All right, let's get back to the study on hate. I wanted to talk to Grok about hate because I promised that we would look a little bit closer into this. Oh, wait. Before we do that, geez, that was one comment. You guys said you wanted to go longer. I do not disappoint. Let's see. Oh, and I just lost my phone. Oh, well, it's probably good down there. Hopefully it's not broken. All right, next question. Ex-presidents are not above the law and can be charged with treason. Yeah, we know. They tried to charge Trump with treason. So they can't be charged for treason for things they did while in office, is what I understand. But things they did while not under the protection of the office of the president, they can. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Kamala wrote a tell-all book and went after the Bidens. Did she forget a Biden forever holds a grudge and it is dangerous to cross a Biden? Yeah. Let's see. That would be February 21st, 2022 for Truth Social, and October. Yeah, see, they weren't on the same day. Man, that wouldn't that be convenient if they were both on the same day? But the fact that they're in the same year is interesting. So, and they're kind of far apart. I mean, what is that? That's 8 months apart. What is seal number 5? Seal number 5 is the martyrs under the altar. They have the souls under the altar, and they say, "How much longer, Lord?" And they're given white robes and told to wait just a little while longer while their brothers are martyred. So I think we're going to see more Charlie Kirks. When the souls are under the, let's see, I already read that. They are burning Christians. They're burning Christians in Syria. Yeah, they're actually burning Christians in more than Syria. They're beheading them in Afghanistan, last I heard. It's been a while, though, so don't quote me on when. Just that is a common practice. Let's see. Altar, rather. Thank you. Let's see. The witnesses began to be prophesied in the Old Testament, and Revelations picked it up in the New. Every prophecy in Revelation has a counterpart in the Old Testament. Yeah, so it's Zechariah 4 in the Old Testament and Revelation 11 in the New. And then there's allusions to it elsewhere. Jesus would not have given literal names to them any more than giving a name to the little horn or anything else, only symbols and signs so we can discern them. Yeah, a lot of it was hidden. And from what I've seen, that's kind of one of the points of the seals being broken. Every time one of those seals is broken, new information is made available. And that's why we're supposed to have ears to hear and eyes to see. Ears to hear, to listen to those who are observing what's being revealed when the seals are broken, and eyes to see, to watch it, pay attention to what's happening. And then once you have those anchor points of data, then you've got more data than you had before to work with to reverse engineer what things mean. What I mean by that is, so like the rider on the red horse is given a sword, and that sword seems to be associated with the vaccine. And then later on in the book of Revelation, it talks about the head wounds by a sword. Um, I'm not trying to conflate the two. I mean, it's common. It's really common to do this, to where two things that sound similar doesn't necessarily mean they are. Two things that sound the same doesn't mean that they are. You can have two things that are identical but are completely separate. So you can have two different swords. So like the one in seal number 2 could be the vaccine, while the one that talks about the head wound in Revelation 13 could be talking about a literal sword. But having that information, though, it gives us more information to work with, for things for us to consider. Let's see. To predict actual names would not be scriptural. Even the prophets did not name future leaders or events by actual names, like Gog and Magog. Yeah, like Gog would have been a leader, but let's see, out of the land of Magog, which scholars and other researchers show being historically located in Russia. Actually, the lands include not just Russia, but Ukraine and Kazakhstan, which is something I found very interesting in my studies. So when will the Antichrist be revealed? Have you not heard my spiel on the Antichrist? Just a quick, too long didn't read. It's probably time for me to do another show on the Antichrist, to be honest. So when you study the word Antichrist, that word is only used 5 times in 4 places in the Bible, and they're all in 1st and 2nd John. The word Antichrist is not used in Daniel. It is not used in Thessalonians. It's not used in Romans. It's not used in Revelation. It's not used in these sections of the Bible that people often say when they're reading it. They'll often insert the word Antichrist into the text. So, for instance, they'll be reading about the prince who makes an agreement for 7 years, and they'll go, Antichrist. It's not used there. They're making an assumption. Likewise, in 2nd Thessalonians, the man of sin, the son of perdition. How do I say this? The word God says what he means and means what he says. So when he had the word man of sin, son of perdition written down, that's exactly what he intended to be written down. Had he meant Antichrist or spirit of Antichrist, he would have had that written down. It would have been there. So it drives me absolutely insane when people say, oh, the man of sin, the son of perdition, is the Antichrist. Now, with that being said, though, I am a big fan of looking at attributes. So the attributes of the word Antichrist, where it's used in the scripture, there's 4 of them. Technically 3, but you could get 4 out of them. They deny the Father and the Son. No, first of all, it's a spirit. The Antichrist, when it's talked about in the scripture, is called the spirit of Antichrist. And the way that it's written, it says, you've heard about the Antichrist coming, and even now the Antichrist is already here. So one way of interpreting that is that the spirit of Antichrist has been around since the day Jesus Christ was crucified. The other way of interpreting that is because it says you have heard that Antichrist is coming, but there's already an Antichrist here, indicating that there's going to be a future Antichrist. And that's why some people like to label everything Antichrist, the end time ruler, the little horn, stuff like that. But the attributes, so when you're actually reading the context and looking at the attributes of the Antichrist, there's nothing about an end time ruler. The Antichrist, as defined by the Bible, has 4 specific attributes. They deny the Father and the Son. They deny that Jesus is the Messiah. They deny that Jesus came in the flesh, and they are liars and deceivers. Those are the 4 attributes. And the liars and the deceivers, I think I don't know if you can call that specifically an attribute, because it's, let's just call it an attribute, just so I don't go down another rabbit hole. So there's 4 specific attributes of the spirit of Antichrist. So that is more about a behavior or personality or a way of being. So you get people who outright deny the Father and the Son, atheists, Jews. You get people who deny that Jesus is the Messiah, Jews, Muslims. You get people who deny that Jesus came in the flesh. You have people who atheists. But you guys get what I'm going at is the attributes of the spirit of Antichrist have nothing to do with an end time ruler. It's just that Hollywood or some teacher clung on to that name and started using it like Kleenex for this end time person. Hollywood, made a movie about this end time ruler. There's so many holes in that end time narrative. I'm actually doing an animated short to make fun of it, just to highlight the ridiculousness of Antichrist as people teach it. They're not teaching what the scripture actually says, which, surprise, surprise, is one of the attributes of the spirit of Antichrist. They are liars and deceivers. You get people who will read Daniel, they'll read Thessalonians, they'll read Revelation, and they will tell you to your face or into the camera that this is talking about Antichrist. You're lying. Stop inserting words into the scripture that aren't there. Drives me absolutely bonkers. What most people are referring to when they're talking about this end time ruler is the little horn. If people would just use little horn instead of Antichrist, I would sleep better at night. No, I don't lose any sleep over this at all. As you can tell, it just comes up quite often because everybody's looking for this end time Antichrist. So in Daniel, it does talk about different nations and different rulers and crowns and horns, and the same language is used in the book of Revelation. And in the dialogue about that, it does talk about one horn that usurps the authority of three other horns, and it's a little horn. Now, the reason why I don't like naming that little horn is the Antichrist is because with that terminology comes a whole bunch of assumptions. Maybe we should do a whole study on this again. But if I remember so when you conflate these things together, you miss the details of it. So there could be a little horn type of a leader who is inconsequential in regards to the way people portray him. It could just be another data point that we need in order to know where we are in the timeline. And the same thing goes for the man of sin, the son of perdition. My argument for that not being the Antichrist is, number one, there's no attributes of the Antichrist in the man of sin, the son of perdition, except if you look at the man of sin, the son of perdition, as a doctrine, because the spirit of Antichrist, remember, is basically the way people believe, which causes them to what they believe, basically. So the attributes are the Antichrist is they deny the Father and the Son. They deny that Jesus is the Messiah. They deny that Jesus came in the flesh. So the man of sin, the son of perdition, what he does is he goes into the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God. Let's see. I need to go read that. I got it wrong. The man of God sits in the man of perdition. I'm getting it all wrong. So it's 2 Thessalonians 2. No, I didn't want to. Yeah, I did want to too. Let's see. So let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless a falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed. So the reason people think that this is Antichrist is because the word man is used here. The man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, my argument for this is 1 Corinthians 3:6. Number one, there's no temple right now. And 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, know you not that you are the temple of God. Let me go read that one for you. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. So if the man of sin sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, why can't that be? So how can a man sit in you? If I'm the temple, if you're the temple, how can a man sit in you? The only way that I can reconcile that is if it's about a man, if it's a belief that somebody can hold about a man, because there's, and this is where it gets controversial, is there's more than one Jesus. So if you believe something about Jesus, who is a son of God, and what you believe about him is wrong, then that belief is in your temple, right? That's a doctrine. That's a belief that you hold about a man. It doesn't mean that it has to be a literal physical man in the flesh, right? It could be about a man. So let me ask you this question. For those people who believe in the Antichrist, that it's a physical person that once the Jews build the temple, if a man goes into that temple, sits down and tells the world that he is God, what are you going to do if his name is Jesus? So what if this guy makes an appearance, comes down and sits in the temple and tells you, I am your God? You're kind of faced with a dilemma, because all this time people have been looking for this Antichrist, and the whole sign that they were going to see of knowing who the Antichrist was going to be is because he goes into the temple of God and declares himself God. Well, what if his name is Jesus or Yeshua? What if he says, I'm Yeshua, I'm the one you've been looking for, I am your God? Are you going to believe him? How much more than when in your minds? Enough said. So my point being, without doing an entire show on this, which we should, is the man of sin. One interpretation of that is it could be a doctrine. It doesn't have to necessarily be an actual end time ruler. And then the other thing that people use for the Antichrist is Revelation 13, the two beasts, which I did a whole week 2 weeks going through the details of the two beasts. The first beast, the beast from the sea, is very likely a government organization that is a democratic organization made up of 7 nations with 10 presidents and vice presidents or prime ministers and chancellors and stuff like that. Basically, the 10 people in charge. That's very likely what the first beast is. And the second beast is likely the evolution away from a democratic system. And we can see that with what Trump's doing. Democrats don't have a chance to vote in a Democrat at this point. So the devil, whoever runs and rules the world, is going to recognize that and probably switch to a kingdom or a monarchy. And I think that probably has something to do with the UK, because seal number 3 was the signing of the New Atlantic Charter, which yoked together the United States and the United Kingdom. So it would make sense to me that the United Kingdom would rise up to be the world ruler. And then you have all these people who have been calling King Charles the Antichrist, which probably is the little horn, but he's not from Turkey. So the speculations about what people have said about the Antichrist should be a man from Turkey. Anyway, like I said, need an entire show to really dig into the whole Antichrist. I told you I was giving you the too long didn't read version, and I kind of went a little squirrely. Anyway, so the second beast is probably a kingdom that will have 2 rulers. You'll have a president and a vice president. It'll very likely be religious in nature, or a kingdom that is not a democracy. You don't vote this person into power. And the reason is because the attributes of the beasts. One is from the sea, which Book of Revelation later defines as being the people, languages, and tongues of the world. When a beast is often defined as like a kingdom or a government, when beast is used in this context. So beast from the sea is a government from the people, for the people, by the people. Beast from the land is not from the people, for the people, by the people. It is probably like a kingdom where it's ruled by the people in charge aren't voted into power. But you get these people who haphazardly use the word Antichrist, and they'll say the first beast is the Antichrist and the second beast is the false prophet, which just is mind-boggling stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so when will the Antichrist be revealed? So if you're referring to 2 Thessalonians, which says the man of sin, the son of perdition, will be revealed, who sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, it could just be that there's a global recognition of a particular doctrine that is detrimental to people's lives, hence son of perdition. In other words, a belief that if you don't repent from this belief will end up in your destruction, which is a callback to 1 Corinthians 3:16, which says, if anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Which brings me to the point, the scariest verse in the Bible In that day, many will come to Jesus and say, Lord, Lord, did we not cast out demons in your name? Did we not do many wonderful works in your name? Did we not prophesy in your name? And he will say, get behind me. I never knew you. So whatever it is that those people believed, they believed in a guy named Jesus, the same name as the Messiah. To my point, there are two Jesuses, or two Yeshuas. One's the right Yeshua, one's the wrong Yeshua. One's the right Jesus, one's the wrong Jesus. So, yeah. So, when will the Antichrist be revealed? I think the Antichrist is probably a belief. That's what it means by a spirit, the spirit of Antichrist. That's my opinion, based on everything I just explained to you. There, we don't need to do a show now. Now, we really should do a show. This is kind of along the lines of what I want to do with the explainer video, that is one of the scenarios. So two of the scenarios that I think people should really be aware of is the scariest verse in the Bible is you think you're doing something right in the name of Jesus, only for him to tell you, I never knew you, which indicates that whatever it is that they believed was wrong and is resulting in being told to scram. The other one that I would like to illustrate is this whole idea. You have this narrative about this end time ruler where they just conflate all of these scriptures together and they miss all the details. You miss the details about the different governments. You miss the details about the religious beliefs. You miss the details about the politics. Is the whole temple thing is like, so what happens if they build the temple and some guy shows up in a spaceship, goes down into the temple and says, I'm your God? I think that the people are going to be forced with a decision to make right there. Do you believe him? Do you believe that man sitting in the temple is your God? Because he's telling you, he showed up the way that the Bible said, and he's telling you he's your God. Or do you go, uh-oh, he's the Antichrist? So anyway, I think that'll make some fun videos. And there's a bunch more to it than that too. I mean, that really is kind of the too long didn't read, but it really is one of the easiest studies in the Bible. Just go look at the uses of the word Antichrist and be honest with yourself about what it's saying. So when you're reading about the little horn, stop inserting the word Antichrist in Daniel because it doesn't exist there. Keep in your mind what the attributes are. When you're reading about the Antichrist and it defines the attributes of Antichrist, look for those attributes. So look for where people are denying the Father and the Son. Look for where people are denying that Jesus is the Messiah. Then you'll know that is the spirit of Antichrist. Anyway. Man, I don't know if I can read comments anymore. I take too long to explain these things. Okay. Yeah. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. You get my point, though. Is the book of Revelation defines from the sea as being of the people, nations, and tongues. So. And the Bible also defines that beasts are a kingdom of some kind or a government of some kind, where you have some kind of a structure which enforces laws on the people, which groups people and forces a way of life on them. That's what a beast is. So I just use democracy to indicate voting. That's what I think of. I'm not being literal here. I'm just trying to convey an idea. All right. What were we doing? We were supposed to study hate. I think we're going to do the hate study. Okay, we'll do this. We'll talk to Grok because I don't like pushing things off. We will talk to Grok and then we'll do a quick study on hate. And if there's more to it, we'll continue the study tomorrow. Fair enough? All right. Here we go. Let's see. You guys can see that, so you should hear it. All right, Sal, I want to talk to you about the concept of hate. Recently, Donald Trump had made a statement that he hates his enemies. And I want to understand that from a biblical perspective. So let's start in the beginning and from the beginning of the Bible and talk about how that word is used and what it means.
Yeah, let's dig into this, Greg. The Bible doesn't shy away from the word hate. It's there, from Genesis to Revelation, but it's got layers we got to peel back. In Hebrew, the word often starts with yal, used in Genesis 4, verse 5. Cain hated Abel because God looked with favor on Abel's offering. Here, hate isn't just a feeling, it's a burning envy that leads to action, like murder. It's less about dislike and more about destructive opposition. Same vibe pops up in Proverbs 10, verse 12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. Notice how hate's tied to division, conflict, almost like it fuels chaos. In the New Testament, Greek uses deal. Jesus says in Matthew 10:37, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." Sounds harsh, right? But scholars like David Biven argue here isn't literal hate. It's about prioritizing loyalty. Jesus isn't saying ditch your family. He's saying your commitment to God's kingdom comes first, period. It's a relational hierarchy, not a call to despise people. Now, Trump's hate comment, strong words, sure, but context matters. If he's talking political enemies, the Bible warns against letting hate fester. Psalm 137, verse 7, "Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord?" shows zeal for God's justice, but Jesus flips it in Luke 6, verse 28. "Bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you." Tough to hear, but it's about breaking the cycle of hate, not joining it. Hate, biblically, isn't just an emotion, it's a choice that spirals into action. God's word pushes us toward love, even when it's hard. Trump's statement might have been heat of the moment rhetoric, but the Bible's clear. Don't let hate take root. You see it that way too?
No, the way I see it, because he seems to be a man who's constantly trying to bring peace by negotiation and strategy. I was wondering, Jesus does talk about those who he hates, specifically when addressing the church of Ephesus. He says, to the church of Ephesus, you hate the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. And there's also, like you mentioned in Proverbs, that talks about hating those who God hates. So I'm wondering if that couldn't be one of the ways that we could look at what he meant when he said he hates his enemies, is his way of saying those who are against God, or those who are against the better interest of humanity.
You're connecting some dots there. Let's unpack that. You're right. Jesus in Revelation 2, verse 6, does say to the church in Ephesus, "I know you hold fast, and you have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. Yet this you have, you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate." That's a big one. The Nicolaitans, not much detail, but early church writings, like Irenaeus, suggest they were a group pushing some early cultish ideas, maybe mixing Christian teachings with pagan practices, undermining God's truth. When Jesus says hate here, it's not about hating people as people. It's hating their works, their actions, the way they distort what's right. It's a targeted rejection of sin, not a personal vendetta. God's hate, like in Proverbs 6, 16-19, he hates haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, isn't about hating souls, it's hating the evil they do. Souls can still turn back to him. Now, tying this to Trump's comment, I hear you. Maybe he's framing his enemies as those opposing what he sees as good, maybe even God's order, like fairness or justice. If he means people pushing chaos or harming the country's core values, the Bible's got precedent for hating what's wrong. Psalm 5, verse 5 says God hates all evildoers. But again, it's their actions, not their redeemable essence. Still, Jesus raises the bar. Love your enemies. Pray for those persecuting you. Matthew 5, verse 44. That's radical. If Trump's hate is more about zeal for what's right, like the Ephesus church, it's closer to biblical, but the line's thin. Hate the sin, sure. Hating people risks pride, and that's where Satan loves to trip us up. I'd say Trump's words were bold, maybe strategic, like you said, but they're walking a tightrope. The Bible's clear. Oppose evil, but don't let hate turn you bitter. You think he's trying to rally people by calling out a spiritual or moral fight here?
I do. Thank you, Sal. Oh, there you go. That was pretty good. I don't know. Do you guys feel like we need to go deeper on that? I think Sal did a pretty good job explaining hate. That's kind of what I wanted to get at, is I know that there's two ways to deal with that word hate. Is one is if it's one that's leading to envy and action against someone, like Cain hating his brother for jealousy reasons. But then you also have the other aspect, which is the things that God hates, injustice and evil. And that's the way I took it, based on Trump's actions, based on his history of what he's tried to accomplish. The thing that they told us to be afraid of with Donald Trump was be afraid that he's going to press the button, nuke countries. He's going to be a warmonger, and he's just going to go after all of his enemies. They framed it in a way that he was going to do it unjustly. Little did they know that he would go after those who intended harm on him, but he would do it with the law. He would do it legally. He wasn't going to lie, steal, and cheat like they do. He wasn't going to pay for fake materials in order to frame them to have a reason to go after them. So I choose to look at it that way. That is more in line with his character, the way that he keeps calling the leaders of these countries bringing them into the White House to negotiate. What can we do to bring peace? What can we do to bring peace? He's been successful with 7 conflicts, some of which have gone on for more than 30 years. Unsuccessful with Russia and Ukraine, still working at it. Like unsuccessful with Israel and Palestine or Gaza. So still working on some of those things. So I that's the way I took it, is when he said that he hates his enemies, and maybe he overspoke, but it's the nature of his character seems to be, it was more he hates evil. So if you guys feel like we need to go dig into that anymore, we can, but I think that probably covered it. Esau and Jacob being twins, and Jacob being the youngest and the favorite. What are you saying here? I don't have context. Let me go back. In question form, are we in the shirt season? In question form, are we in the shirt season? Short season. Oh, really good question. Technically, no. I don't think we are in the short season yet. That would start with seal number 5 opening. I still think we're technically in seal number 4 until seal number 5 is open. So we need an eclipse. So it seems like the seals opening are associated with eclipses, specifically annular solar eclipses for the most part. That's the one that looks like a crown. That's when the living creatures, or the 24 elders, are casting their crowns before the throne. So I think always pay attention to eclipses. It's interesting. I think it's in the Kabbalah. I still have yet to go find this. I keep bringing it up. I think it's in the Kabbalah that they say whenever there's an eclipse, the sky is to be read like a book. So all the stars and all the planets have meaning, and their positions in the sky on the day of an eclipse. Everything is meant to be read like a book. So you're supposed to take the meanings of it and go see what it's saying. But one of the things, and this is what I mean by reverse engineering things, is this knowledge was lost. I believe that Adam knew this information. When God created Adam and set the sun, moon, and stars for signs, seasons, days, and years, Adam had a perfect knowledge of the constellations, of the planets, and their movements, so that he would know what time it was. So he knew what hour it was. He knew what day it was, what month it was. And also the appointed times of when things were meant to happen. And that knowledge was passed down. This is how the Magi knew when Jesus had been born, because some of that knowledge, so it was given to Joseph, and Joseph passed the knowledge down to where they, by looking at the stars, they knew that the king had been born. They had been looking for a Messiah. They knew he had been born, and they knew they needed to start traveling. And even God even gave them a star to follow, the Star of Bethlehem, which there's theories on what star that was. It was a conjunction of planets that stayed bright for a long period of time. I think it was because there's certain planets that go into retrograde and they'll stay in the same position for months. So if you get, for instance, like Jupiter in conjunction with another bright star, it makes a superstar. And the Magi would have known to go in that direction. So I'll have to, we could do a show on that one. That'd be a good show to do on too. So are we in the short season? So when there is an eclipse, and I don't know what to look for to know for seal number 5, because the first 4 seals, you had the living creature say, come and see. And I think we were meant to know those events specifically when they occurred. Seal number 5, there's no living creature saying, come and see. Seal number 5 is the first weird one out of the bunch, in that it's just the souls under the souls under the altar who say, Lord, how much longer, Lord? And they're given white robes, and they're told to wait a short season until those who would be killed are killed. So that doesn't start until seal number 5 opens up. So maybe that's when religious persecute. Maybe that's when we start seeing a lot of Charlie Kirk's assassinations. Those who are speaking out are killed. Could be. So that's my answer on that. So the Bible said God hated Esau, before he was even born. Malachi 1:3, even the Edomites, Esau's descendants. Let's see, God, not God. Okay. Cool. All right. I think we're done. Wow. We went 2.5 hours today. Cool. That was a good night. What do you guys think? You like the longer nights, going through more detail on these things and talking a little bit longer? Feels too single night for obvious reasons. I have a family and a life, and I need to get stuff done. I need to work on things like prophecy.com, but it's nice to do it at least once a week, once or twice a week. And Thursday seems to be a good day for me to do it. It's a good day to get into the deeper details on things. The next one, the next big teaching, the next big video will be on the Antichrist. I feel like we need kind of what I gave you in short today, and a longer video that's with a lot of illustrations to make it very clear. Because I want to drive it home that the way that the word and the way that people teach about the Antichrist is causing confusion about how the end time plays out. People are missing the political moves. They're missing the governments, the one world governments. The beasts. They're missing the first beast and the second beast because they're just calling him Antichrist and false prophet. They're missing the doctrinal aspect. That's the most important thing, is the man of sin, the son of perdition, being revealed. People are missing the fact that that's probably a doctrine or a belief that leads to them casting out spirits in Jesus's name, performing miracles in Jesus's name, and prophesying in Jesus's name, only to find out when he comes back for him to tell them, I never knew you, which indicates that they probably believe in a different Jesus, which is probably the son of perdition who sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, because that's what the man of sin, the son of perdition, does. Probably a doctrine, probably a belief. All righty. Been a long night, but it was really great. This was a lot of fun, guys. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. God bless you guys, and shalom, shalom.